were in my position and you
I would wanna
100%
know.
didn't
I
believe
would
that,
want to know.
that you would do this,
100%. You saw the pictures of your baby's head.
100%
You saw the pictures
don't
of your
believe
child's
it. And
head.
I 100% don't believe it.
Okay, this interrogation was back in January 2009. I'm going to continue playing it for you and give you some analysis, but let me quickly give you the context and some background story. Christiane Allison is being interrogated by Alaskan State Police regarding the death of her daughter, Jocelyn. Now, her daughter, Jocelyn, who was around 15 months at the time, died of blunt force trauma. The father is Clayton Allison, who was judged to have killed her. During the incident, Christiane was not at home. It is said Clayton left the baby gate open and Jocelyn fell down the stairs. There is more to this story, but I'm going to get to it as the interrogation goes along because the timing will be better. If you do end up liking this video, please subscribe. Let's see how this interrogation goes.
Point in the investigation where either you're on the side of Jocelyn or you're on the side of Clayton.
Don't say that.
That's where we
You're
are.
putting yourself.
I'm putting myself where?
You're putting yourself in a position saying that you automatically want me to be angry with you. So don't do that, please. Because I want to be cooperative, I want to be helpful, but do not make a woman stand between her husband and her daughter.
Well, you have to choose.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I can just as equally love my daughter and believe that it was an accident.
Okay, the first thing I noticed, you see how she says, don't do that? Very slowly with her hands. This is a normal reaction when you don't want someone to do something, but the manner in which she did it suggests she is calm. She knows she has nothing to hide. Have a look at her leg positions. She's relaxed. She's comfortable. She's kind of like leaning on the chair, right? She's not stiff. She's not upright. Her head isn't hunched over like some people in an interrogation. Christiane, right now, is the coolest person in the room.
Okay, well, it's not it's a homicide.
Know that this was ruled a homicide according to the evidence that they had.
It's ruled a homicide based on the injuries that your child had. She went from this, okay, to this. She has bruises all over her head. This is trauma. There was no skull fractures on the baby. It was all inside. It was all shaken. She was shaken. She was thrown on a couch. She wasn't hit up against a wall because there are no outward bruises that we could see.
There's nothing on that one.
Okay, this is all trauma. You need to know
that
this.
That shows her face. Can you please not show me that one?
CJ.
Or at least don't show me her face mutilated like that.
Okay, so earlier I said there's more to this story. Now's the perfect time for that. So, when Jocelyn fell down the stairs, when they saw her body, her brain can be seen, her skull is completely fractured, her face is unrecognizable, so to speak. You understand what I'm trying to say. The police officer is telling Christiane these injuries are not consistent with just a random falling down the stairs. So what you have here is the randomness versus explanation argument. The police officer is essentially saying that if you were to take the weight of Jocelyn, the speed at which she fell, the velocity at which she traveled, you could have calculated what kind of impact and end result there would have been once she hits the floor. What Christiane is trying to say is, given her trust and love for her husband, she does not believe that he is capable of this. She cannot compute this eventuality, so she just calls it randomness. You can decide yourself between the two whose argument at this stage is more plausible.
I'm asking you to help us. We need an answer.
I am willing to answer any question you want me to answer. Honestly, I don't know what you expect of me. I don't know if you expect me to walk in this door, for you to tell me that, for me to break down crying and say, oh, it's all a farce. I've been completely truthful to you this entire time. I'm going to be completely truthful to you the rest of the whole thing, the way that this goes, and I'm being completely cooperative, and I always have been.
Okay. Well, here's what we want you to do.
So ask your questions and I'll give you your answer.
Here's what we want you to do. Okay? We want you to make a phone call to Clayton and we want you to let us record it. That's what we want you to do.
And what am I supposed to do in this phone call?
You're gonna talk to him. Okay? You're gonna say, if ruled it a homicide, you were the last one with Jocelyn. What happened? They're telling me she didn't get the injuries from falling down the stairs. What happened?
I'm not going to do that.
Okay, and I'm going to ask you why.
Because I am the type of person that would feel like I was lying to
Okay, one other key piece of information that I'll give you now. Christiane, in 2009 and during this investigation, she was diagnosed with type 3 Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a genetic condition that affects connective tissue. Essentially, her body is more susceptible to dislocations, broken bones, etc., etc., because she has a fragile genetic disorder. In her mind, this could be the explanation for the severity of the injuries to her daughter. But what key here is this diagnosis was given after her husband was arrested and during the investigation. So it is not something she could have brought up during this interrogation, as a diagnosis was done after.
my husband if I didn't automatically say this phone call's being recorded. If you let me say that, I'll do that just fine.
Well, he's not going to talk on a recording line. He's not going to tell you the truth. He hasn't told you the truth now.
I'm a truthful person, and that's deceitful to me, and I won't do that to my husband.
It's not deceitful.
It's
this is where you have to. This is where you have to.
Deceptive. And
Okay,
I won't
and you
do
want
it.
answers? Do you want answers? Do you want to know if Clayton did this?
Yeah, I do, and I'm going to ask him. And I can ask him if I tell him that it's recorded, and I'll let you record anything you want, or I'll ask him at home by myself.
I was just gonna. I'm here to see how cooperative you are, and you're not.
I am cooperative. I'm telling you a legitimate reason. I will not
Okay,
be deceptive
I'm
to
telling
my
you.
spouse.
I'm telling you that your child did not die from falling down the stairs.
And do you?
There's two things the police are doing right now. Number one, they're continually asking her, so they can break her down, do the phone call in the way we want it done, etc., to get a confession. But there's also a part two to this. They are deliberately stalling her, as police officers are currently on their way to her house to question her husband. And what they don't want is for her to leave, because at this moment she's still free to leave. They don't want her to leave, and then her and the husband can correlate a story and manipulate the situation.
You think that if you were in my position and you
I would wanna
100%
know.
didn't
I
believe
would
that,
want to know.
that you would do this?
100%. You saw the pictures of your baby's head.
100%
You saw the pictures
don't
of your
believe
child's
it. And I
head
100% don't believe it.
when Jocelyn went in for the emergency surgery.
Of all the interrogations so far that I have covered, she is by far and away the calmest subject I have seen. Let me break it down for you just a little bit more and we'll get back to the interrogation. They have tried to rattle her with graphic and gruesome information about her daughter. She remained the same throughout. Sometimes she's got a bit emotional, understandably, but her body language and her demeanor has been the same. And the reason for that is because she knows what she knows. Too many times in interrogation rooms, subjects or suspects try to justify their actions by elaborating. She doesn't need to justify to anyone. She knows her husband. Let's assume they've been married for 5 to 6 years. I'm not too sure how long they've been married for, but to her, a person is not the last time you spoke to them. A person is the whole time you've known them. These two officers have reduced her husband down to one incident to which she knows he is much more than that. Her loyalty is admirable, and she is not going to bat an eyelid up until they prove her otherwise.
They opened up her skull, and the dura was very tense, and of course it was bulging, and it popped. Like what do you call those? The poppy dose things. So there was so much trauma there. And it was,
Yeah, I remember the surgeon described it to me beautifully.
Okay. Why
So
are
if
you?
I don't agree to this, what do you do?
Well, but if you don't agree to it, you don't agree to it. And the only thing left is we go and we talk to Clayton.
Well, that's probably where we're at, because I'm just going to be flat honest with you. Even if I 100% believe that he done it, which I don't, I still couldn't do that. To me, there is deceitful and there is not deceitful, and that is deceptive to me, and I cannot do that to my husband. I can't. I couldn't do that to my friend, much less my husband.
And
I'm
you know,
just not that kind of person.
no. Let me just be blunt. Let me just be blunt with you because that's all right. Do you have any part? Did you ever shake Jocelyn?
No.
Did you ever throw her in your bed out of frustration?
No.
Okay. What's your part in this? What's your part in Jocelyn's death?
Nothing. Except for not being there.
What's your obligation to Jocelyn now? That's your only obligation?
You could make the argument that she's lacking in remorse as she hasn't shown any over hysterical grief or emotions, but the incident did take place a month or two before this interrogation, and the officers have calmed down a little bit because at this stage, unbeknownst to Christiane, they have made contact with her husband.
I'm shocked. I will tell you, I'm shocked. I can't believe as a mother, after everything that I've presented in front of you, you can say he didn't do this. You can say he didn't do this. Let me ask you straight out, did you love Jocelyn?
Yeah, I loved her more than anything in the world, and I still do.
More than anything in the world. More than anything.
Yeah.
But you won't. You're a smart lady. I've given you everything.
I'm a smart lady.
I've given you everything. And you said you don't even believe you. 0%. You don't, there's not even an ounce of doubt in you.
I'm not
Don't
saying
tell me. Don't tell me that you loved your baby with
an ounce of doubt.
beyond.
I'm not saying
Beyond
there's not an
doubt.
ounce of doubt. I'm saying I don't believe what you're telling me 0% because I'm not going to say that I do. I'm not saying that I don't doubt things. I doubt lots of things.
As a mother,
I doubt lots
more than the world
of things.
Let me use your
that
words.
doesn't mean that I'm
More
going
than
to
the world.
agree with
More
what
than
you're
the
telling
world.
me now.
You love Jocelyn more than you loved your own life, right?
Yeah.
My God, that's what I would do for my kid. You love Jocelyn more than you love your own life, more than you love anything, above anything else on God's green earth. You
Yeah.
love Jocelyn.
Yeah.
I've presented experts, evidence, experts, and you're telling me he didn't do it. You didn't love Jocelyn.
Do you
I'll
just
tell you.
do
I'll
you
be
just
blunt with you.
absorb everything that everyone says to
I
you
do.
as 100% truth?
No.
Christiane is clearly getting more frustrated now. She's essentially asking the officer, why are you so gullible to believe everyone? But if you've noticed, the narrative of the two individuals have stayed the same. The officer has continuously said, your husband did this, and Christiane has continuously said, no, he has not.
I take it
You
in.
take it with a grain of salt, and that is what I am doing. I'm taking every word you say, everything that's on this paper, with a grain of salt. I don't believe anything until I've thought about it, I've prayed about it, and I've come to my decision. Because life is too short for rash decisions.
It was too short for Jocelyn.
Yeah,
it was only 15
it was hella
months.
too short.
It was only 15 months, and her own father, at the hands of her own father, shook her to death. And by God, her mother doesn't want to know the truth.
Me.
Her mother doesn't want to know
Yes,
the truth.
I do. And don't you dare say that I don't.
Make the phone call.
I'll make the phone call if I can tell him it's being recorded. There's a big difference between wanting to know the truth when you believe you can get it, 100%. Like I said before, you make every decision
Excuses.
in life based on your decisions, based on your beliefs, based on the knowledge you have in front of you.
Excuses. And you're being
And this
contradictory.
is the knowledge I have in front of me. No, I am not.
You are being contradictory.
I have not contradicted myself yet.
You
I have said this is
absolutely
where
have.
I stand on it, and I'm not changing my mind.
Okay, I think what's interesting here quickly is that when she's being questioned, when her beliefs or her honesty or her integrity is being questioned, she responds with denial or rejection to the police officer. But whenever the police officer has spoken about her husband, she remained calm, cool, and collected. And I would say, or I would guess, that during the incident and the following months after, she probably started to hate herself. She probably started to loathe herself. She maybe even blames herself for not being there to protect her child.
Yeah, but then you fluctuated between whether you believe him, you believe him. He said she fell down the stairs. I'm just going to believe that. I'm just going to believe that. I've presented experts that said
So how have I fluctuated?
that this hasn't happened.
How
because
have I fluctuated?
Because you've said you wanted to know. Because you've said
I do
that you're a
want to
blunt,
know,
honest
and
person.
I will know. I will find out. I have no fear of that. I don't have to make a phone call in your office on a recorded line to find that out for myself. Like you said, if he's going to lie to me, he's going to lie to me. It's not going to make a difference whether I'm talking on your phone or not. Mm-hmm. If he's going to tell me the truth, he's going to tell me the truth. If the truth is not what you say it is, the truth is not what you say it is. The truth is what it is, what it is. There is no other truth.
This sequence is indicative of Christiane's personality. She's essentially trying to tell the police, you are never going to understand the decisions other people make. So whether I say it's recorded or not, if he's going to lie, he's going to lie. There's nothing I can do about it. I think she's been honest throughout and hasn't been deceitful at all. The conclusion of this story is that in 2015, Clayton Allison was sentenced to 30 years in prison after the prosecutors argued his daughter died of shaken baby syndrome. What's key to understand is during the trial, the genetics disorder I mentioned earlier, it was banned from being mentioned in court and could have been used as mitigating circumstances for the severity of Jocelyn's injuries. But after numerous appeals in 2019, Clayton was actually released as the Court of Appeal said evidence that his daughter may have had a condition known as EDS was wrongfully banned. Now, this syndrome can cause increased internal bleeding, and the Court of Appeals believed that Clayton could have used it as evidence to argue his innocence. Now, whether you think he's innocent or not, for me, is not the point of this video. The biggest thing I took from this is Christiane's unwavering loyalty and support to Clayton. Why don't you guys comment? Tell me what you think.